I've been living with diabetes for like 10 years. So just a little bit of disclaimer, this information that I'm gonna give to you today, this is not intended to replace the care of your doctor. It's just for informational purposes. And again, I'm Denise Smith. I've been a nurse for like 33 years. I've been a nurse practitioner for like 60 years. So, okay. So in terms of this, the demographics in terms of the world and the United States, 1 in 2 persons are on the diabetic spectrum. So that means half of you in here today have some form of diabetes, whether it be the doctor said, oh, I'm borderline, you know, I have it under control, or I'm just out of control. So 1 in 2 persons literally have some form of diabetes. It's nothing that's gonna go away. You have to live with it. There's no cure, but you can manage it through diet, lifestyle, and your doctor's treatment. All right, and again, it mostly affects people of color, Black and brown people, the Hispanic community, Indians, Black people. It is just an epidemic among our people. All right, and it's among the top 10 leading cause of death in the U.S. Okay, a little bit about the disease process. So diabetes is the inability of our bodies to use carbohydrates, not necessarily sugar, because sugar is part of carbohydrates. So you have diabetes, they have like the very simple sugars, white breads, flours, and all that stuff that will spike insulin, and will ask the pancreas to send insulin in. And then sometimes we're producing insulin, but we're not able to use it. So the body actually resists insulin, which sometimes could be due to obesity, overweight, so the insulin is not getting past the fatty tissue to get into the muscle where it's needed. So the sugar just stays in the bloodstream, and it doesn't help us at all. All right, so again, diabetes is just a very dangerous disease. You cannot take it for granted. I am living with diabetes for like 10 years. I don't take medication. It's just, it's just through diet. When I was diagnosed 10 years ago, I was 210 pounds, and just through diet and lifestyle, I don't take medication, and I've maintained. So again, if I go back to eating the same way, and diabetes doesn't care if it's Christmas, New Year, so people say, oh, it's Christmas, I'm gonna eat. Your numbers are gonna go up, because diabetes doesn't know that it's Christmas, diabetes doesn't know that it's Thanksgiving. So in terms of the organ systems that diabetes will attack, so we have 60,000 miles of blood vessels in our bodies. So we have very tiny, minute ones, so anywhere blood flows, we're at risk for the blood vessels being damaged. So again, it affects quite a few organ systems. So that is why now they're talking about Alzheimer's being a form of diabetes. Because if the blood sugar is too high, and we develop plaques in our brain, that's also part of the disease process. So here is the pancreas. So this is what produces the insulin. So we eat, and there is a relay that comes from our mouth to us. Pancreas say, hey, send insulin in. So anything we eat, protein, fat, anything we eat will call insulin. But it depends on how dense the food is. When it comes to carbs, that will really, send the insulin up. So the pancreas is what produces the insulin. We eat, the food goes into our stomach, and insulin. So we eat a piece of white bread from Jamaica. We eat a piece of white bread and some fried dumpling. Yeah. So it's a dumpling. So again, tea with sugar. So these are the systems that gets damaged. So anywhere blood goes, so our eyes, we go blind from diabetes. Our intestinal system, we get what's called diabetic gastrophoresis. You can't even eat much. So sometimes people with diabetes, they're very small, because their gastric system is involved. So the kidneys get damaged again. Anywhere blood flows is gonna cause damage. So men tend to get erectile dysfunction, again, wherever blood flows. So in getting an erection, it's blood flow to the penis, and if the blood vessels are damaged, the penis is not gonna stand up. So it is not that the medication that we take high blood pressure medicine causes damage. It is not the medication, it is the uncontrolled disease process that leads to damage to the blood vessels, and so we have issues. Okay, so again, it also affects, again, the blood vessels. So you see people end up with sores that become gangrene. So the blood vessels are damaged, so the flow of blood to the blood vessel, to the limb or wherever is damaged. So people don't even know they have sores because it affects the nerve. So they can't have any feelings. So that's what's called diabetic neuropathy. So you end up with your inability to feel. I've seen patients, they have a big hole under their foot and they don't even know they had it because they can't feel. They have no feeling, and they end up with diabetic nerve pain. So they end up on medication for the pain so they could sleep at night. So it's a very terrible disease. So 30 years, it's like 20 to 30 years after you're diagnosed and you're not taking care of it, you're gonna be dead. Actually, 20, 30 years of not taking care of the diabetes, you are going to be dead in 30 years, really and truly. All right, so there is a very important test that everyone should be asking as part of your screening when you go to the doctor. If whether or not you are diabetic, you should be asking the doctor to do a hemoglobin A1C. Who knows what a hemoglobin A1C is? Anyone knows? Blood test. So it's a blood test that tells you how much you've been running on a daily basis for about 6 to 8 weeks. So if you go to the doctor and they tell you that your A1C is 6, it means every day of your life your blood sugar is 135. Right? You should be less than 110, less than 100. If they tell you your A1C is 7, it means your blood sugar is running 160, 170 every day of your life. If they say, oh, my A1C is 8, it means your blood sugar, you're running like every day of your life, you wake up, your blood sugar is 200. So it is very, very, so every point you have 35 to figure out how much your blood sugar is on a daily basis. So that test is very important. Some doctors will do like an insulin to see how often you're spiking insulin during the course of the day. So like I said, everything we eat is gonna spike insulin. But carbohydrates, because it's our inability to use carbs, hence the diabetes. So we gotta be very mindful of how we live. So diabetes, remember I said, there's no cure, right? You can reverse it with lifestyle, diet, medication. But again, medication is not a panacea, guys. Medication is not gonna help you if you're not helping yourself, right? So it's lifestyle and diet. Sometimes you can even lose medicine if you practice lifestyle modification, but it's very hard because 77% of those of us that are diagnosed with any kind of on the spectrum, pre-diabetes, is gonna convert to full-blown diabetes, 77%. So it's very scary. So sometimes we say, oh, the doctor said I'm borderline, but you still continue to eat because I believe in pestilence. You know what I mean? I was told for years that I was borderline, and I kept doing all that I needed to do until when the doctor told me my A1C is 6.8, and she gave me the finger stick machine and metformin. And they said, this is where the buck stops. I'm gonna do this on my own. So for like 10 years, it's all about diet and lifestyle for me. But it's not easy for everybody because like I said, it's only 77% of those on the spectrum will convert into diabetes. So sometimes they tell you, oh, your A1C should be less than 7 for most diabetics. That's very nice, you know, but so if you're 5.7 to 6.4, you're considered borderline. So the more you continue to have the sugar up, the more damage is being done. Remember, it's 60,000 miles of blood vessels are running around in our bodies. So the minute ones, the minute level, cellular level, that's where the damage starts. So that's why people have diabetes for 20, 30 years, and then they die because the body has been compensating for so long. The minute blood vessels have been attacked, they regenerate, they get attacked, and so you just, your body collapses. You know what I mean? The blood vessels are gone, you cannot, you know, there won't be any healing, because you have a toe, you know, you can't transfuse the toe at the end of the body. So they tend to cut, and so when they tend to cut, they keep cutting, because again, all the organ systems are affected, including your bones. So people develop what's called osteomyelitis is the bone rats. So it's a very terrible disease that should not be taken for granted. Whatever you are on the spectrum, you gotta get with it and try to start making lifestyle changes, which includes pretty much your diet. So I compiled a list of foods that people with diabetes should be eating and stuff that we should be avoiding. In the sense of anything that's ultra processed, foods on a shelf, sitting on a shelf with a barcode, it's a no-no. People with diabetes, we need to be eating whole foods. Whole foods, I mean, is like food closest to the ground. Food that you go to the supermarket, you buy your fresh vegetable, you cook, you can control the salt intake because you're cooking your own food. But in terms of the processed food, the ultra processed foods on the shelves, the cereals, and you say, oh, cereal is good, I'm eating granola, I'm eating oats. When you look at the content of how much sugar is in the food, it's mind blowing. So I brought here a little, this is 10 teaspoons of sugar. So this is the amount of sugar in a can of soda. And if you drink that 16-ounce soda, then you know that big bottle, it's twice the amount of sugar. So, you know, it's all about like cutting back. I'm not telling people to start.
You're telling them.
No, I'm not telling people. You know, it takes a while to get to my stage where I am, because now I only drink water, tea, and coffee. I don't take sugar because I know. I literally count the amount of carbs that I eat. That's how I control my diabetes. Because like I said, there's no cure. But I've reversed it, and I've stayed in that phase of reversing. You know, I'll eat a piece of cake, Thanksgiving, Christmas, I pig out, but I have to go back. I cannot sit in that stage where I'm eating every day. I can't saltfish and fried dumpling and red plant and all this. I don't do it every week, every month, because you have to be thinking mindfully of what I put in my mouth. So, you know, you have to really be preparing your foods. I know it's very hard, you know, because people working, you go to the store, you grab these processed food, and when you look at the salt intake, and then because of the damage to the blood vessels, you start getting high blood pressure, because the kidney is damaged now. So, you know, your blood pressure is high, so you're on medicine for diabetes, the blood vessels are stiff and narrowing, so you get a medication for cholesterol, so it causes cardiovascular problems, which is usually what most people will die from, the complications of diabetes, the gangrene that you refuse to cut off, and it poisons the whole body. You go into sepsis, septic shock, infection of the whole body. So it's very important that we start taking diabetes very seriously. Start slowly. Don't tell yourself you're on a diet. You go from A to Z. From our conversation today, you start cutting back slowly on the things. You know, so instead of buying the processed food, you know, and the what you call it, the cereal on the shelf, because it's so cheap and it's easy, you start, you know, okay, so let me make some eggs and let me put some greens on it. You know, you don't have to break your fast with breakfast food. That is how they hijack our taste bud by telling us we have to eat breakfast in the mornings, right? Breakfast is whenever you break your fast. So you want to eat 5 o'clock, 12 o'clock, 11 o'clock, 10 o'clock. You don't have to eat because they tell you to eat. Right, you're conditioned to eat. Okay, mama, get up 7, 8 o'clock night time when you're not hungry. You gotta start listening, listening to your body. Be mindful, in tune. So, all right, then miss them tell me to eat 3 times a day. That's why we have so much obesity, so many problems. The type 2 diabetes is very rampant among our children. Young people are taking metformin for adult onset diabetes because of the food we're eating. So we have to take a step back and go to the whole food section, buy your fresh food, and people, especially people who are retired, there's no excuse not to cook your own food. I mean, I still work, but I am very mindful because I know I lost a sister a year and a few months ago. Diabetes. She was 37 when she was diagnosed, and she was dead at 67. So she died on untimely death because she smoked, she refused to do what she needed to do, and so, it's up to you at the end of the day to take responsibility for yourselves, for your lives, for your health. A little bit of, you're walking, do a little exercise. A lot of people with Medicare, they will pay for your gym membership, or you just walk. Walking exercise will help to push insulin into your muscles where it's needed for energy. So again, you cut back on the carb intake, but you can, and if your kidney function allows it, so increase your, and again, fat is not the enemy. It is sugar, it is carbohydrates, that's the enemy. So if you lower your carb intake and don't even think about it, you're gonna lose weight. So your body, your brain can use fat as energy. You can use protein as energy. Make sure you're getting your intake of fiber, so you're not constipated. So a lot of fresh fruits and vegetables, cucumber, arugula, cabbage. Most of us in here love cabbage, right? Cauliflower, tomatoes, avocado. That's a very good healthy fat. Spinach, you can make your smoothie. And it's not all foods are for diabetics, okay? So diabetics should only be eating like apples, citrus, kiwi. Watermelon is very high in sugar. So you should only eat a small piece if you're gonna eat. So it's all about moderation and diet control when it comes to certain things. Pears, okay, the berries are wonderful. Raspberry, strawberry, blueberry, blackberry, cherries. You put them in a blender with some coconut water or whatever, some almond milk, whatever milk, and you make a nice berry shake, which is very full of phytonutrients and base nutrients that we need. So always shop and eat mindfully, guys. As often as possible, choose whole food, not foods that are already prepared, as discussed earlier. Foods that have been sitting on the shelf for 3, 4, 10 years. We don't know how long these foods, because they tell you, okay, they expired 2027, but when were they packaged? And so the sugar intake, the carb intake, diabetics need to count their carbs, be mindful. You should be eating like 100 or less in order to see a number on your to see the A1C coming down. So it's very important. And again, start slowly. If you were eating 300 grams of carbs, you're gonna start cutting back. No more rice, the white rice, the white flour. Please replace that, the white breads, even with whole wheat flour, which is less processed. It has more fiber in it, and it's something called bulgur. Who knows bulgur? Yes. Bulgur is excellent for cooking your rice and peas. So you're gonna use bulgur, brown rice, okay, a lot of legumes, beans. So like for me, who didn't eat meat for years, my protein was in my beans. So I cook beans, any beans, like I'm cooking jerk chicken. So I jerk up my beans and I feel it tastes like I'm eating, it tastes like I'm eating meat. You know what I mean? So these brown, less processed foods move through the GI tract slower. The doesn't call insulin as fast as the processed white flour. So it stays and sits in your gut much longer than the white flour and the white sugar. So some of these foods, they act like the GLP-1s, the Ozempic, the all these injections and pills they're giving people to help this to their stomach stay full. You can eat foods that is going to act as GLP-1, so you eat less, and of course the weight will come down. So ditch the white rice, replace with bulgur or blé. If anyone here is Haitian, the same thing is delicious. I mean, as kids, they used to boil porridge and give it to us in school in Jamaica, right? So you use the bulgur and cook your rice and peas. So you're getting protein from the beans, and the bulgur is very complex carbohydrate. So it sits and it moves slower and it gives you good bowel movement because it's very high in fiber.
How is quinoa?
Quinoa, I was gonna come to that too. Quinoa is wonderful, but you know, it's quinoa is a process. You know, you gotta get a taste for it. But quinoa and the brown rice. Brown rice is, if you look at brown rice, how dark it is, as opposed to the bleached white rice. So you will, it will sit in your gut much and go through your gut much slower than the white rice. So we can use food as Ozempic. You know what I mean? We can use, like some of us need help, a jump start. By all means, take the Ozempic. You know, do whatever you need to do. But you know, it's a whole process. And at the end of these things, I got something called Sugar MD. That's a website you can go on. These doctors, they treat diabetes. They tell you what to eat. Forever Health is also another website that tells you the food diabetics should eat and what diabetics should eat. Any questions?
When you stick your, if you're not diabetic, but if you stick your hands, what's normal, the numbers?
So the normal should be like 70 to 110. It depends on the lab, 70 to 100. Yeah. So anything above that, you know, especially so, you know, if say you ate a carb load the night before and you're going to the doctor the next day, or you overate a lot of watermelon, you go to the doctor, your fasting blood sugar is probably going to be 120, 130, and if you've been eating all these foods over the last 6 to 8 weeks, your A1C is going to be up. So it's very important that we you know, we start being mindful. Just take, from today, I just want you to take away small baby steps. Know what your A1C is when you go to the doctor the next time. And you work on either maintaining it if it's low or if it's high. You work on it. So we're gonna have to ditch the cakes, the cookies, the white bread, ice cream, juices. 1 cup of juice is 10 teaspoons of sugar. So, you know, chips, all these food that they say, oh, it's veggie chips. But if you look at the salt content and all that stuff, it's crazy. So, you know, we gotta find ways to snack as opposed to these processed food that are sitting on the shelves that are causing obesity for children and even adults. And because the food is so ultra processed, you're gonna end up with type 2 diabetes.
What are some of the signs of being diabetic?
Okay, so we talk about the 3 P's: polydipsia, polyphagia, polyuria. So if your number is like really crazy, you're gonna be peeing a lot, going to the bathroom, you're gonna be so thirsty, you're gonna wanna drink, okay, and very hungry. So yes, so polydipsia, polyphagia, polyuria. Very thirsty, you're drinking like crazy, and you're peeing a lot because you're peeing out the sugar. Yeah, and sometimes with type 2 diabetes, it's a slow thing. You know what I mean? You don't even know you have it until you know you're at work and you fall asleep and they take you to the doctor and they say your A1C is 11 or your blood sugar is 700. So that's when you're gonna have these kind of symptoms. But sometimes symptoms are appearing on the body that people don't pay mindful of. Like sometimes you know you see people and their necks are very dark, very black. This is if the skin is really rough, that is an indication of diabetes. Yeah. Yeah.
So, I just wanted to, share as well. You're not just looking for the sugar on the label and the sodium. You're looking
Carbohydrates,
for the
so carbs.
Both
So
together.
carbs is sugar is carbs. So it, again, remember I said about the complex carbs, and then you have the simple carbs. So complex carbs would be like the brown rice, the quinoa, the blé, or the bulgur, right? So when you look at white rice, that is like sugar. You might as well be drinking a can of soda when you eat white rice. Yeah.
Yeah, can you share the safest level of carb you can,
Okay, so I tell people to count their carbs. Alright, so say, it's very important to start looking at food labels, educating yourself, because again, you're responsible for your health. So the doctor can tell you, give me another pill because, oh, Miss Denise, the sugar's still high, take 2,000 more grams, okay? But you can manage that by counting your carb intake. So again, you look at the list. So say, you're going to eat some cereal, right? Some of these cereals is 30 grams of sugar. A cup of milk has like 11 grams. The regular whole milk has 11 grams of sugar. So right away, you eat 50 grams already. You know what I mean? So, like for me, I literally cut my carbs. I portioned out some nuts, and over there is 19 grams of carbs. It's gonna fill my belly because again, it's a lot of fats, stays full longer, moves slower through my GI tract, my belly stays full, I drink water, and so I'm not hungry. The processed food, the biscuit, the crackers, all these things make you hungry fast because it calls insulin comes in, clean it up, and you're hungry again. So the more insulin you produce, the fatter you get.
You know, most of us are from the islands, and we tend to eat the breadfruit and cassava, and those things good.
So I think those are safer than the processed food. So, but again, portion size, because we don't have the luxury of eating 10 pieces of cassava, 10 pieces of yam, all these things. So it's again, portion size, mostly vegetable, my dear. Our community does not like vegetable. Cook up your own heap of greens, eat as much as you want. It's not, don't even count the carbs when you eat it. I mean, it's not carbs, and you don't count calories. You count carbs. Even for people that are not diabetics, you're going to lose weight because again, the carbs is the demon. That is what is killing us, and the processed food.
My husband eats rice every
Is he diabetic?
He's not diabetic, and that's the thing. He's not diabetic. I'm diabetic, but he eats rice every day, and his breakfast some mornings is fried plantain, the white of an egg, and a whole wheat bagel. That's his breakfast every day. If it's not that, it's green bananas and sardines.
Yeah.
And when you go to his doctor and you say his doctor checked to see if he's diabetic, he's not
Okay,
diabetic.
so you see, so there's a genetic component to diabetes, right? Again, in any disease, cancer, whatever, genetics is 30%, right? So you inherited that gene, but lifestyle is 70%. So like my father died at 42, had a stroke. I've outlived my father by 20 years. My mother had a brain aneurysm. I've outlived her by like 10 years. So lifestyle is what is going to save you, right? Genetics load the gun, lifestyle pulls the trigger, right? So you can inherit all these tendencies, and maybe like in your husband's case, he doesn't have that the genetic predisposition, he doesn't have diabetes, so he can do whatever he wants. God bless him.
He eats fish and
Yes,
chicken.
but again, he eats pretty healthy because he's eating the whole foods that he cooks at home. and not so much the processed foods on the shelf. That could have swing the pendulum in a negative way for him. Huh?
The restaurant going to be
Rest of us what?
the restaurant.
Well, honestly, Mr. You know, the restaurant is in it to make money. So they're not gonna give you quinoa, right? They're not gonna give blade because blade very expensive. It's cheap. A 50-pound bag of white rice is $20, right? You buy a 5-pound bag of blade is like $6. You see what I mean? So it's an investment in yourself. You either pay for the medicine or you eat the bad food and you pay the doctor's bill.
What about when the label says sugar-free? Does that really mean sugar-free?
Sugar-free because what they use a sugar substitute, which is also cancer causing. So that is why we need to eat like how we used to eat when we were back home in our country. We never know nothing about food. We didn't know anything about sugar substitute. Can't place because the sugar, it's even when you eat that sugar substitute, the body sees it as sugar, so it's gonna call insulin. So you see people drinking that soda, it's still calling insulin because the tongue tastes the sweet and it calls insulin.
So it's sending a message.
Yes, exactly.
It's not detrimental, it's really detrimental.
Of course, over time it is.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yes.
Guys,
Yes.